Good morning, not good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the webinar tonight. Our topic is putting the fun back in fundraising, and will be hosted by Mary Pat Rooney. Before we start the presentation, my name is Sam Fetcher, and I'm the technical producer for this, and I want to just give you a minute to run over some of the controls on the GoToWebinar interface for those of you who may be new to this kind of technology. Over on the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to see a control panel. And one of the most important things on there is going to be the questions tab for you. We'll stop intermittently throughout the webinar to answer questions. And the way to get your questions answered is going to be to type them into that questions panel. You should be able to see Mary Pat's screen pretty easily. And if the control panel's in the way, you can click on that orange arrow up at the top, and that's going to go ahead and minimize the control panel for you. Does anybody have any questions right now? If so, go ahead and type them into me on the questions tab. All right, and if not, I don't see any, we'll go ahead and get started. Just a couple of things. Also, if you need to step away from the webinar, please don't log out of this system, because you'll have to then take the time to go back in. So keep that window open if you can. And then also, just as an FYI for you, we are recording the webinar, so if you do have to leave before it's over, you can go ahead and access the archive recording within a couple of weeks on the Capitol website. Okay, Mary Pat?
Great, thanks, Sam. Good evening. I'm so glad that you are all able to join Sam and myself this evening for putting the fun back in fundraising. My name's, as Sam said, Mary Pat Rooney, and I am presently the manager of planned giving at the Dunbar Museum of Nature and Science. I've been working in fundraising, I guess, since that first time that my Girl Scout troop sold cookies, so many, many years. And I really think that it is a wonderful way to contribute to society, to your community, and it shouldn't be as stressful as it sometimes may. So tonight we're going to really kind of delve into that. So the goals for tonight's webinar are pretty straightforward. We're going to learn strategies for asking not only for monetary donations, but also for donations of auction or raffle items and other material goods. I would love if each one of us could develop at least one new strategy for raising funds for your favorite charity or cause. And then also to develop confidence in your fundraising ability. My favorite phrase at work, well, and even in my Capitol life, is really fake it till you make it. It really will help, and you can do this, I promise. So philanthropy today. Raising funds has always really been a part of American society. We started off as a nation of, small groups of people that came over to North America and really had to band together. They utilized their funds and their time and talent and energy to really support each other. And it continues today. In 2013, individuals and families donated $335.17 billion. I apologize for stuttering. That's just such a large number, which made up 72% of total giving. Corporate entities gave $16.76 billion, which is only 5% of that total giving. So the moral of the story is individuals are going to be your best bet for charitable donations. And I got this information from the National Philanthropic Trust. They have a lot of great articles on kind of current statistics. So what typically volunteer fundraising really moves around is events. You see everything from a bake sale to a cocktail party to a backyard barbecue, a block party. And so tonight we're really going to talk about event-based fundraising. Now, with that being said, there are many other ways to fundraise, and I know that several of you, when asked to fill in some pre-work questions, shared information perhaps about doing direct mail as well as some other techniques. And we're not going to cover direct mail this evening. However, at the end of my presentation, I have my contact information, and if we want to get more into that, you can feel free to reach out. But we're going to focus on events tonight. the event planning process. Now this is when, in my experience, a lot of people have that dun 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 moment, really, concerned about how to get started, where to go first, that sort of thing. Goodness, I don't know what that noise was. What's happening here? There we go. So the first thing is to really create a committee. Fundraising, event planning, frankly, most things are more fun with a group. It's really going to help you get everything done. And once you get that group together, depending, how large you think it should be, how many, frankly, willing participants you have, determining roles and responsibilities within the committee is going to be really helpful, especially when they fit in with the group's interests and talents. So, focusing on, I'm not, frankly, don't tell my boss this, I'm not a numbers person. I can figure out a balance sheet kind of, but when it comes to quick math skills, that's not my thing. So putting me as the treasurer, probably not something that's going to keep me interested, keep me working hard, and really empower me to do, above and beyond. So making sure that you take the time to get to know your committee members if you don't know them already, or ask friends and family who you know have a specific interest or talent to serve in that role. For instance, my mom is excellent at putting together baskets, whether it's for a gift or a silent auction. They're gorgeous, they're themed, they're beautiful. She would be someone I'd ask to coordinate the silent auction because it's something she enjoys. It's something that I know she'll knock out of the park, and it's not as much of a stretch for her. Of course, you're going to have times when there's that role that no one really wants, and really allow people to self-select as much as possible in those cases, so you're not worrying at the end of the day about whether something's going to get done or not. Establish contact best practices and then a regular meeting schedule. So I personally know that I work from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and weekends are a lot of time spent traveling and that sort of thing. So knowing just my schedule, I know it's going to be tough to get a meeting that I can be at, let alone 6, 10, 12 other people. So creating a plan from day one is perfect. If you do it every third Thursday, then people can put that into their calendar. Also, figure out how best to reach out to each other. One person may love texting, one person might be phone call only, another person may be email. Just make sure that you record that information as well as their contact, total contact information, so that everyone is on the same page and ready to roll. Next, you really need to set the event goals as a group. In some cases, you may have a directive or a set goal from the organization for which you're, raising funds. Maybe your local food bank really wants this fundraiser that you're planning to raise $10,000. Okay, but in most cases, if you are creating the fundraiser yourself, you're able to really pick and choose what you think is both achievable and going to be impactful. So once you set that goal, which is often monetary, create a budget based on that goal. How much do you need to make to offset expenses? How many tickets do you want to sell? That sort of thing. And then create a tracking mechanism for expenses and revenue. This is when assigning someone to that job I just shared I would not excel at. The treasurer position is perfect. Making sure that those receipts for reimbursement or any ticket purchases go through that individual, and doing it in a way that during your monthly meeting or monthly email or however you're contacting each other, that information is shared so that the entire committee really knows where you stand financially, because at the end of the day, it's that financial donation that you're, at least in this case, really looking to make. Do we have, Sam, any questions at this juncture? I don't think I see any.
Sorry, Mary Pat, I muted myself so you wouldn't hear my cat whining in the background. No, we don't have. No, we don't have any questions right now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Sam. So moving on to the next stage in the game, determine the event theme. Now, I don't know if it's the Kappa in me or the cheerleader in me or the Girl Scout in me, but I love an event theme. It's a really fun way to get people jazzed and being creative. That being said, simple is best. Pick something that is, doesn't require a ton of decor to transport you, to Paris in the 1930s. Make sure that it is simple enough that people will get it with, not $1 million spent on decor. Also, it's a great way to incorporate the mission. If you're doing a fundraiser for a food bank, you can, do centerpieces that are, made out of cans and boxed items, in a cool way. Also, if you're doing a fundraiser for the Kappa Kappa Gamma Foundation, you can choose to pick out one of the programs that you're hoping to support. So maybe it is a personal favorite of mine, Girls Academy, and sharing different, questions that might be asked during a Girls Academy, or using the logo in a way that's fun and easy to incorporate. Then, where are you going to have your party, event, whatever you'd like to call it? This is really when you're going to reconsider those event goals for both the size and the budget. So I have planned events in pretty much every position I have had post-college, and I've had events for 20 people, and then I've done events for 75 to 100, and frankly, more than that. So just make sure that you know how many people do you want to attend, and what kind of space do you need? Is it a stand-up cocktail party? Is it a event where there'll be heavy hors d'oeuvres or actual meals, so you need table seating for everyone? Really think that through and talk that through with the group, and then see what you have budgeted. Now, if you're going to, rent a space, negotiate the space rental, food and drink package if you're going commercial. So a lot of times you can get a deal either on the space rental with a food and drink package provision, or the opposite. A lot of, at least in my experience when I was living and working in Chicago, a lot of places really want to be seen as someone in a group that supports the community. They want people to come into their restaurant, bar, event space and say, oh my gosh, I had no idea that blah 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 donated space for charitable organizations. Oh, how great, we'll have to remember that next time we have a party. That's the sort of thing that when you're asking the manager, event person, whatever at a commercial space, say, hey, we see that the fee is $5,000 for the evening. Is there a way that we could either get a discount on that or have some sort of food and drink credit? This is a fundraiser. This is our organization or our cause. This is how the money's spent. And really talking them through that. There's always a chance that they'll say no, but you'll find throughout the presentation, my biggest kind of rah-rah moment is the worst thing somebody could say is no. And then you say, thank you so much, we'll try again some other time, and you move on. You can always kind of go from there. So we know that we've got a space, and perhaps we have some food and drink, and we know how many tickets we need to sell, but determining additional revenue streams is really important. So you get, your friends and family and their friends and family into a room for $20 a ticket or whatever it is based on that budget that you've talked about. How else are you going to solicit donations throughout that day or evening? A lot of popular things are, silent auction, also a raffle. My biggest question that I've gotten from bosses of mine when I've chosen one or the other is why. I think that choosing between those two is really a matter of knowing your audience. For instance, I did an event with the Chicago Metro History Education Center called Brews for History, and it was a beer-themed event that took place at Haymarket Brewery, and it was a lower cost ticket. They were $40 in advance or $50 at the door, and they were people that were in their late 20s, early 30s, and really just the demographic we had seen the year before. I found that a raffle would be easier. They don't have to, the guests don't have to walk around and look at things. They can just purchase 10 tickets and then just drop them in willy-nilly. It was also a lot easier for our volunteers to sell the tickets than encouraging people to move around in a space that wasn't very large. A silent auction is wonderful if you're doing an event that's got a little more space and that might be a little bit of an older crowd. A lot of people really enjoy that, quote, winning a silent auction item, whether it be football tickets or, a very special guitar, that sort of thing. So just knowing your audience and really talking through that decision, I think, is important, which brings me to my next point. So know your audience, and then know who your committee is. Is one of the members of your committee the, CEO of a company that does, cell phone cases? Okay, so I bet you we could get 100 different, cell phone cases to raffle off. Or is somebody knows the owner of the Chicago Blackhawks and they can get us a signed jersey? Knowing kind of what type of items you can get is really helpful. When it comes to the items and really the dollar amount those items are valued at, you're always going to want to do a silent auction for a higher valued item. That's really going to help you build more revenue, especially in terms of sports memorabilia or theater tickets. You'll be able to get more for those because people know their actual real value, especially if you have people that are into that on their own. If you're talking about movie tickets or restaurant gift certificates, depending on which restaurant, the raffle may be better for you. So just really thinking and talking through those things. And then you need to figure out how you're going to take donations. This has really changed in the last few years, especially. So check into the following things. A credit card processing system like Square, which I'm sure some of you have seen at coffee shops or vendors. It's a little kind of machine-y kind of thing, I know that's very descriptive, that sits into your cell phone, the connection that you would use for your headphones, and it's a credit processing system. There are costs associated with it, absolutely, but they have several different packages, and I worked for a teeny tiny nonprofit in Chicago, Lakeview Pantry, and we found that the amount per swipe, for lack of a better term, was super insignificant compared to what we would lose if we didn't have credit processing. Also, checks. Make sure you have written out and in the minds of anyone that will be taking a check exactly what it needs to be made out to. And then also, depending on the crowd and who are the people making the donations, make sure to have a book of cash receipts if that's the kind of people that will be there, so that you can say, oh, Sam Betcho donated $150 in cash and she'd like a receipt for her taxes. Sorry, Sam, just using you as an example. So just make sure that you're thinking through that while you are planning. Does anyone have any questions thus far? I tend to talk quickly, so please let me know if something pops up, and Sam will let me know, but I just like to pause because I'm a question person myself.
There's nothing just now, and I did send out a reminder on the chat panel. Remember to go ahead and type your questions in using the questions panel.
Perfect, and that's okay if you guys are just sponging it all up or asleep at the wheel. It's Tuesday. I'm drinking tea to keep me moving and grooving. Well, all right, so we will keep moving. So the ask. I know that this was something that a lot of you were interested in learning more about. How do you actually ask for stuff? So we're going to get really into that in a few different steps. So the ask, preparation. Revisit the event budget. Look back at how much you need to earn and how much you can spend. And then determine what you want or need and who may be able to help you get it. This is when you take a look at that committee. Who's got the connections? And not just for silent auction items. Maybe one of your committee members knows someone that owns a restaurant that'd be willing to donate appetizers. Maybe one of the committee members has a line on a space that they might be able to let you use for free. really understanding and evaluating what you have access to already, and then what you want or need. I always like to come up with a list of things that are kind of the most expensive, and those are kind of the things I try to attack first. Maybe it is, if it's an event where alcohol will be served, maybe it is looking for wine or beer or, liquor donations. Maybe it's the food costs, so seeing, okay, can we get, pub mix for $600 from Costco for free? Really just checking into those things and seeing where you can potentially, get what you need. And then look outside the committee. Friends and family are great resources. You can find, I find, with talking to your friends and family, you'll find connections that you had no idea existed. Then also, as Sam can attest, your family most likely is super willing to help. When we did Girls Academy in Chicago, I had my whole family baking from morning to night. We had tons of cupcakes and cookies, and they were happy as clams to contribute however they could. And it doesn't always have to mean monetary donations. It could be appetizers. It could be a bottle of wine. It could be the paper for the menu cards, and so on and so forth. Divide and conquer is the name of the game. Come up with your hit list, what you need, who you think you need it from, or who you think you can get it from, and assign duties. I'm a big believer in delegation. I think we're all better if we all kind of do our part and chip in. So even if Susie Q is in charge of planning the silent auction, Susie Q needs some help. She's going to need people to make some calls to really hit the pavement, visiting local businesses. The Chamber of Commerce in your community is always a really great place to start. Oftentimes they will have their own gift certificates that will be good at any of their member organizations, but also they have a full list of businesses that are small and in your area, and that's a great place to ask for those food donations, services if you need printing or copies. That's a really great place to start. But really assigning people to talk to different groups about this sort of thing, and then checking in and saying, hey, Susie, I know you were supposed to call Wine Styles and talk to them about donating a raffle item. How'd that go? Or, having those touch bases to keep everyone on track. So you have your game plan, you have what you would like to ask for and kind of an idea of where to visit, but then how do you ask for it? So do your research. A lot of organizations, companies, businesses have a process for requesting donations. If you ignore their process, the answer will most likely be no. Claiming ignorance doesn't really count, especially because in this day and age, people are asking for more of those things, and oftentimes smaller businesses have a more limited amount of resources, and so they're more choosy, and if you ignore the rules, you're kind of out of luck. I do know that for, websites will have a lot of that information. For sports teams, for instance, there is a central site that all of the sports teams in Chicago all use, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but if you go to any of the major sports teams' websites and try to request a donation, it'll put you to the same system, and it's really neat because it allows you to track where it is in the process. And in my experience, I've only gotten a no from one team, and it was because it was the end of the season and they were out of their allocated donations for the year. But yeah, so learn the rules and make sure to follow them, and know exactly what you're asking for. Whatever feels right as a response to a business owner or employee of a store, asks you, well, what are you looking for? It's not going to get you far. They're going to go with the least common denominator, and you'll walk out of there with a $5 gift certificate to Starbucks, which is wonderful, but you could get more. So walking in, to your local Starbucks and saying, I'm working with the Denver Alumni Association, and we are fundraising for the Kappa Kappa Gamma Foundation for scholarships for our college-age women members that are, in need financially and also scholastically proving their, worth and their incredible knowledge. And we know that you, Starbucks, have really just launched this enormous program to help your staff members become college educated, and we think that's so wonderful. And we were hoping you could donate, some coffee and maybe a gift card and a couple mugs, probably a $50 to $75 value item for our raffle, and we would be so appreciative. What do you think? That's way better than saying, hey, whatever you think is right, because none of us want to be pushy. We don't want to be rude, but we'll never get things that we don't ask for. And then follow up with a phone call or visit, just like I shared with you, 10 seconds ago. Being able to talk about what you're raising funds for is really what's going to get you that donation. People are going to hear and feel your passion. They're going to see how important it is to you, and they're going to respect you for being that excited about something, and they're going to want to help. And then be prepared for the what's in it for me. So maybe I get Starbucks to say, okay, well maybe we can do a $75 gift basket, but what's the recognition going to look like? Make sure that as a committee you have planned how you're going to honor donors in terms of silent auction or raffle, donors in terms of, people that donate $1,000 to sponsor a table. Make sure that you have a plan for that, so when you get that question you can say, well, Mr. Manager of Starbucks, all of our raffle donations will be listed in the program or on the website or however you're going to do it, and we'll make sure that Starbucks Coffee Company with this location's information on it is featured. Is there anything you'd like us to pass out at the event, depending on what your capacity is? And having those items thought out in advance is going to allow you to really go in looking like a pro. Give them very few excuses to say no, and you'll feel more confident knowing you have these answers already created with the support of your team behind you. So we've prepared, we've actually asked, and then how do we follow up on that ask? Make a plan for securing the donation. There's nothing worse than getting, the approval from a manager of a local brewery that he'll donate 6, growlers and a t-shirt and not having it ever show up. So make a plan. And then share with the donor the plan for recognition. So if Mr. Brewery owner was not the person that said, well, what's in it for me, make sure when picking up the donation that you share with them how they'll be honored and thanked at the event. You want to remind them that the guests and the ticket purchasers are going to know that they were part of this and that they generously gave to your cause, because that's really what, yes, they have hearts of gold, absolutely, but they also are doing it so that they can kind of get some name equity in the community. Invite them to the event. Talk about the event, what it's going to look like, where it'll be, and how they can purchase tickets. Say, hey, we love that you were able to donate. We're so appreciative. This is going to be a great addition to our raffle. We would love if you would consider purchasing a couple tickets and joining us. It's going to be fun. We're going to have music and dancing and whatever your event entails. Some people might ask you for free tickets. I'm personally of the school of thought that that would be a polite decline and say, I'm so sorry, but we're really trying to make as much as possible. I know our committee, in fact, who's planning the event are purchasing their own tickets. Nobody's going to be upset with you if you tell them that the profits are truly going to your charitable cause, but just be prepared that they may respond to your ask to purchase tickets with that. And then make sure to keep track of what's been received and what's been acknowledged. So a lot of times, in terms of charitable gifts, people will want a tax receipt. And there are a bunch of different templates available on different websites. If you're fundraising for a larger organization, they may have something pre-made. If not, you can find templates online. But make sure you know what you've got, especially if you have a committee that doesn't have a centralized location, like a chapter house if you're a collegiate member. Make sure you know that Susie Q has XYZ, Mary Pat has, Q, R, and L, making sure that you know what you have, and then also that a thank you note or letter has been sent. Some organizations might ask you for your tax ID or things like that, and whomever you're raising funds for will be able to provide that for them. But along with a letter, a handwritten thank you note goes such a long way. It's going to really let them know that they made an impact, that you appreciate them. I like to send them with a picture of the event or a picture of wherever the funds went. So for Chicago Metro History Education Center, I would send a handwritten thank you note along with a couple of photos of our students at a history fair workshop, kind of huddled around a computer, learning something really neat. So showcasing how their donation made an impact is really great if you can do it. So we're almost to the event, and I just want to stop and check in again and see if there's any burning questions that you haven't typed in the question box that Sam is helping with.
No questions in there yet. Give them a second here.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't see anything, Mary Pat.
All right, well, thank you very much, Sam, for checking. And if things do come up, please ask. So, in terms of the event, it's time to party. This is what you've been working so hard for. Here's the thing. You want to make sure that you remain calm. You know what you're doing. Your guests are excited. Your committee is ready to roll, and it's going to be great. Assigning day of roles and responsibilities is important. So if I've been in charge of ticket sales, I should be at the check-in desk because I've lived and breathed that list of ticket purchasers throughout the process. Switching those roles might add confusion or, kind of, stir things up. So just try to keep it as simple as possible. Make sure, this is a really, really big one, make sure to take a moment before the doors open to the guests. Take a deep breath, smile, celebrate the fact that you're about to have a wonderful event, that you spent a lot of time and energy planning. You've already, made X number of dollars through advanced ticket sales, and just really pat yourself on the back because what you've done isn't a small feat, and you did it as a labor of love, which is so incredible. And then really have fun. Keep a smile on your face. If you are stressed out, your guests will be stressed out, and that will make it worse, and it'll be this never-ending cycle. My mom always says that you should always be like a duck, totally calm on the surface and paddling like hell underneath, knowing what's going on, checking in with committee members throughout the night, checking in on raffle ticket sales, relieving someone if they've been stuck at that registration desk since the doors opened to let them, get something to drink, use the restroom perhaps, visit with their guests. More than likely, your guests are going to be your friends and family, so ensuring that the committee has the time to go and speak with them and thank them, thank those raffle item donors, thank the, staff at the event venue, just making sure you're enjoying yourself. You've worked so hard for this, so just have fun and realize that that's contagious. And if people have a great time, they're going to come back next year. And that, I know that's not too much depth into kind of the event day of, but I do really think that if you have, planned with your committee, created a spreadsheet of who's doing what, that the day of is kind of plug and chug. I will say I find that making a one-page event guide the day of is, or for the day of rather, is incredibly helpful, including a timeline. So 2:30 p.m. committee arrives, 3:30 p.m. delivery of XYZ. and kind of going through the whole day step by step so that if there are any questions, it is on paper with the information. I also find that having on that one sheet a list of the cell phone numbers for the venue, for a caterer if there is one, for all the committee members, for the local supermarket if you might have to do an emergency order. Those are really key to have on there. And I always like to put the goal of the event at the bottom as well. Not necessarily monetary either. There's something to be said about having a reminder of why you are busting your butt to do all this. So whether that is to thank donors for a previous event, whether it is to introduce the community to the Kappa Kappa Gamma Foundation, or if it is to, raise awareness for ALS and, really capitalize on the Ice Bucket Challenge and keep people engaged in that cause. Having that reminder with you the day of, I think, is really, really helpful and kind of reminds you why you're doing it. Now, I hate to be so flippant as to say there is a key to success, but I truly, truly believe this. As hokey as it may sound, this simple thing has gotten me $1 million donations, it's gotten me planned gifts that have closed, and it's gotten me pretty much every job I've ever had, volunteer or otherwise. The key to success is to say thank you over and over again, constantly, in different ways, in person, on the phone, handwritten notes. I know I already shared that, but those are really key because you've taken the time to sit down, put pen to paper. There's no way to copy and paste a handwritten note, well, unless you, I guess, type it up and then paste it in the note card, which I would dissuade you from. Those touches are going to make people feel really, really good about what they've just done, and it's going to encourage that behavior again. I cannot say it enough. So, with that, I would love to thank you all for joining myself and Sam this evening. We have a good amount of time for questions, so does anyone have any questions at all? Or is everyone still silently soaking it all in?
I don't see anything yet. Go ahead and type anything in if you have questions for Mary Pat.
If there's anything you're looking to get more information on, or if I skirted through something quickly.
Here's a question, Mary Pat. It's sent from Lori. Should a thank you be sent after receiving a donation and again after the event?
I think, Lori, if you have the time to do both, I would. Right after the donation, making sure they know that A, you got the donation, but B, that it's getting used correctly. And then after the event, sharing how much was raised in total. I apologize for the sirens. I live right near a hospital. But yeah, right after the event to say, thanks to your generosity and the generosity of the community, we were able to raise $20,000 to support X, Y, and Z. I think it'll keep people coming back for more, and they'll remember you, which is always a good thing. Great question.
Anybody else?
Thanks, Lori, for asking a question. I appreciate it.
Okay, here's one. Can you revisit, Mary, this is from Eleanor, Mary Pat. Can you revisit how you recruiting of committee members? How do you get the community, and then also how do you get the community excited and involved?
Okay, great question. So, or questions rather. So in terms of recruiting a committee, I am very much of the school of thought that get the people that you know are going to say yes at the get-go. So if you know that Sam Pecho is always willing to help with something, ask for her to help out. With the inclusion of more people, then you can kind of widen your reach. For instance, if it is an alumna association and it's a fundraiser for the Kappa Kappa Gamma Foundation, sending an email to all the members saying, we're developing a committee for this great fundraiser we're doing. We'd love to have a meeting. If you're interested, shoot me an email. We're going to meet at this day and this time to discuss, the first steps, and really just asking people to help out. Now, if you send that email out, you have that meeting, and 3 people show up, that's when I try to start kind of cherry picking people based on their interests and their talents. So if I have a friend of mine that's part of the association that does the copy editing for me at work, in terms of we work together on that sort of thing constantly, I might reach out to her and say, I know you're really busy. I was wondering if you could help with this one specific task. It's really going to make the event better. And kind of having that personalized touch is helpful. It's also helpful when you tell people, you did such a great job last year doing the auction for XYZ charity. I was wondering, would you mind helping us out with that? Patting someone on the back and sharing with them that you think they're an expert is really going to help you make some headway. And then in terms of getting the community excited, thank you so much for bringing this up. I think that it's important to know your audience again. Is an email invitation going to be helpful? Will these people want a print email or print invitation? Also, social media, as much as we all think it's for kids or young people, Facebook, they're saying that the average Facebook user is between 45 and 55, I believe, from the last study I read. I could be incorrect, but it's definitely not necessarily who we think Facebook users are. So a Facebook kind of, invitation or just using your group's Facebook account to continue to promote it and share what's going on is helpful. Also, if you have a website for your association and group, sharing that information. Evite has a lot of really great free templates that you can use for email invitations. And then a lot of times the local paper or a chamber of commerce, that sort of organization, especially in either neighborhoods of a large city or, communities, they will have some kind of event posting, event calendar function, and that might be a great way to reach people that you might not necessarily have contacted before. Also, those businesses that donate items for the raffle or food items or whatnot, asking them if you can put up a small sign or poster is pretty nifty, and it's an easy way to catch the eye of someone else. And I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head for right now. But I can try to keep brainstorming. And if you send me an email, we can kind of talk through that together if you would like more ideas. Thank you for the question.
Does anybody else have anything else they wanted to discuss with Mary Pat? Okay, if not, I think we'll go ahead and end our webinar. Please don't feel like you have to stop thinking about this. Mary Pat's email's up on the screen, and you can always email her and ask her, pick her brain a little bit more about some ideas that you might have as you're planning your next event. As we close the webinar, a screen is going to pop up onto, a survey is going to pop up onto your screen, and we ask that you just take a couple of minutes and answer the 4 questions that are there. Your feedback is important to us, and it helps us decide what changes we need to make to the webinar program, to the lifestyle learning series, to any of the ideas that we're doing with our CAPA webinars. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.